Okay, you guys asked for a video on how to make enchilada casserole that I posted on my Facebook a couple months ago. So I'm making it again today, and I'm going to show you how I'm doing it. I have gathered here all of the ingredients for making said casserole. So I've got some green onions. This is just going to be used for garnish. I've also got here some garlic all mashed up for me so I don't have to do the hard work. Super hard work. Also here, onion, one yellow onion all nice and chopped up. This is a half of an orange bell pepper. This is one green zucchini, like a medium-sized one, and it's cut into quarters and then sliced. I will always use onion in the recipe. I don't always use bell pepper or zucchini. Just a general trick I have for trying to make dishes a little healthier is that I'll try to sneak in some veggies, and so today I'm going to do that with some zucchini and some bell pepper. Get a little more micronutrients into the food and hopefully some extra flavor as well. I think you'll see later on, but I'll mix these veggies in with the meat. Well, some of the onion I'll put with the beans as well. And then finally here on the board I basically cut the ends off of the bottom off of some cilantro, and I put it into one of these little tea doohickeys. The idea is to get some of these stems into the beans, so the beans can just cook with that in there to try to give it some freshness, some herbaceousness. So that's what I have here as produce. There's some latitude to kind of do what you want, but that's I always include onion, and everything else is really subject to whatever you like. So speaking of beans, I'm going to do some black beans. I did this recipe for years with refried pinto beans, and that's certainly one way to go. I think the black beans, I like the flavor of them. I think they're just a little bit healthier. Well, they are than a typical refried bean. So I'm doing black beans. In the black beans, I got some leftover green sauce from a Mexican restaurant, Pollo Norte here in Portland. This stuff, I wish you could smell it through the camera, but it smells amazing. And it tastes really fresh. It has a lot of lime to it. It's not spicy. But anyway, I'm going to throw that in with the beans. I'm also going to put this can of diced green chilies in. Actually, I think this is going to go in with the meat. I almost always use diced green chilies, usually with the meat. And then to round out our canned goods, I got enchilada sauce here. I've used red, I've used green, I've used some of the different flavors or brands. I don't think it matters a whole lot. That'll come into the assembly. Today I'm going to cook with 99% ground turkey. Trying to make a little healthy-ish version today. I have done ground beef for this. That's how we always used to do it when I was a kid. Last time I did like a shredded chicken that I had cooked in the crock pot for tacos, and I took the leftovers and did them up, and that's what we put in. It doesn't really matter. I have 2 pounds here because I like extra protein, so we're going to be pretty heavy on the meat layer. 99% ground beef. I'll season that with all the veggies, but also with taco sauce, or taco seasoning rather. You might want to throw in a little chili powder. I also have cumin here because I use that heavily in the beans. I love beans with a lot of cumin in them. I have some salsa here. I'm going to end up putting some of that in the beans as well. And it might be used as a garnish. Okay, so then tortillas. We always use corn tortillas, but it really doesn't matter. Today I've got some of these corn, mission style corn tortillas, and some of these extreme wellness protein plus tortillas. We didn't really like these all that much, but for this recipe they'll be great. And then I got a crap ton of cheese. Definitely not going to use all of this cheese, but I got plenty. We're having Mexican soup later in the week, so we'll use some of that then and hopefully finish it later next week. Okay, that's all of the ingredients. I'm going to pause there and I'll come back with the cooking. Okay, now we're back. We're going to get started with the beans because I want them to cook down for a while. So I'm going to get them going first. Hopefully I can take like 30 minutes for these to just kind of get happy together. Turn the pan on. There we go. Took a little bit. I'm putting it on like medium-low heat. I forgot to say before, I'm going to use a little bit of olive oil in the pan. I didn't include that in the ingredients, but it is what it is. You get what you pay for. Now I'm going to take a little less than half of the onions. I'm going to throw those in with that olive oil just to kind of open up a little bit. And hopefully not make too huge a mess here because Jackie hates that. Okay, so I got those onions just kind of warming up. And as that's happening, I opened my can of beans and I got about half of the liquid out from the beans. I also gathered my cumin, this green sauce that I told you I was going to be throwing in the beans, and the salsa. I got this slotted spoon here I'm going to work with. So those are almost done. They're going to cook in the beans, but I just want to loosen them up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go in with the beans. Again, this is the beans with maybe about half of the liquid removed. I like a good whack of cumin. As I said, I don't like to measure, but this is maybe a tablespoon-ish. I'm going to do like a big heaping tablespoon of the salsa here, and I'm using this slotted spoon. I don't want really all of the liquid. I just want some tomato flavor. Oftentimes I would do this with tomato paste, tomato sauce. Didn't have any of that today. Salsa works well. Frankly, I could probably just use ketchup. Now in with this green mixture. I think it's maybe some tomatillos and some sort of mild pepper. And again, it has a lot of lime in it. Tastes really citrusy. It's pretty delicious. Not spicy, just give me a lot of flavor here in the beans. Okay, so that's about that. I'm gonna hit that with a little bit of that garlic. And then stir that in. And now this really just needs to cook for a while. I'm gonna get this. This is that little tea thingamajigger with the cilantro stems in it. And I'm just gonna set that down in there. Okay, so now I just want to let that cook for a while. I'm gonna turn the heat up just above medium until I get it starting to come
close to a boil. I don't want it to boil, but I just want it to get hot. And when I see it start moving around in there, I know it's hot. And I know I'm going to flip that over so I can hopefully get that wet enough to take some of the flavor out of those stems. Okay, so I see it's starting to lightly bubble here. So again, I'm gonna turn this to low heat, and I'm just gonna let that cook for quite a while, 30 minutes or more, and I'll come back. I'll be working on the meat later. Okay, I got the cast iron skillet going here with a little bit of olive oil again. I'm on medium high heat, and I'm going to just kind of sweat down this bell pepper and yellow onion for a minute before we come in with the meat, and then the zucchini. I'm going to also hit this with a little bit of garlic. So that's starting to sweat down. I got everything ready to go. This is all, real simple. Again, I could choose different veggies. When I made this as a kid, we had onion. We used onion. We used 80% ground beef. We used refried beans with a little bit of tomato sauce. Most everything came from a can except for the onion, and nothing was super healthy, but still was a pretty damn good recipe. And this, I find, is a pretty damn good recipe too. Or still, in spite of maybe using some healthier ingredients. So here we're going to make some room in the pan now for the meat. So coming in with that 99% turkey. This stuff I think tastes like ass in a lot of instances, but you throw it in a recipe like this, and there's so much flavor going on in every part of the dish, including this meat's going to have a ton of flavor when you get done here. So you put all that together, and you don't really need all the fat of the 80% ground beef to make it delicious. Okay, I'm going to pause for a few minutes while I start to cook this beef down, and then I'll come back, or turkey down, this ground meat. And then I'll be back with you as I throw in the zucchini and we're starting to finish this meat up. Alright, so I'm here again. I put in a little bit of garlic there. I'm not ready for the zucchini yet, but I am going to hit this with some of this taco seasoning. This is another area where you can really do whatever you want. Seasoning the ground meat could be done as easy as like some garlic powder, onion powder, salt, chili powder, something like that. Like a do-it-yourself kind of taco seasoning. I got this Ortega taco seasoning, which I like a lot. So we use this for any number of things. And with 2 pounds of meat, it's going to take a bit. So that's my first whack at that. I'm going to just let that brown up. Again, I'm pretty much on high heat right now, trying to cook this down, just below high. So, but this is pretty much above where you would call it medium high. Funny story about this recipe. This is a recipe my stepmom Colleen always made. It was in some cookbook that she had. I think it was one of those cookbooks that was like from a church where all the people from the church brought their recipes and they put them together in a cookbook and sold it to raise money or something. Anywho, that recipe book is out there, and that recipe has been something that she's made always over the years. Like this enchilada casserole was something that I would always request on my birthday dinner and stuff like that. It's a nice way to feed a lot of people. You can make a couple of these sheet pans for not a lot of money and for relatively little effort. But funny story is, I think in 7th grade I had a requirement of some class that I was in to demonstrate a process. I'm going to hit this with a little bit of chili powder as well. Oh, forgot to get the diced green chilies in here. I got to do that. We'll probably do that at the end. So I had to demonstrate a process for a project at school, and I chose this recipe. So I actually had to take all the ingredients to school, and I think I had all the stuff pre-cooked. I just did the assembly of the casserole in class, but I had to talk through the whole recipe in the process. So I guess it's true to say that I've been making this recipe since 7th grade, which was something more than 5 years ago now. Maybe even more than 10. Okay, so I added in some more seasoning. I added in the zucchini. The zucchini doesn't need a lot of cooking time, but I wanted to try to get a little bit of brown on it if I can. Again, I don't always add the zucchini. It's really just a way to try to sneak in other veggies into regular meals. Since this is sort of like a one-dish meal for us, hardly anything we do, the bulk of the way we eat is meat plus side, meat plus veggies, and a little bit of starch here and there. And sometimes our meals are even like meat plus 2 veggie dishes plus a little bit of starch or no starch. But this is a kind of dish that we're going to just spoon out a big, dish out a big section of the casserole, and that's all you're going to eat. Might have a few corn chips on the side if we're feeling saucy, but pretty much it's a one-dish meal. So it's nice to be able to sneak in a few extra veggies since we're not having any sides of veggies. I just got a little stir on the beans there. I'm going to open this can of diced green chilies. And in this case, I'm going to keep all the liquid that's inside. Well, I'm a big fan of spicy foods. Jackie is not. So this is the mild fire roasted diced green chilies. And when we get pretty close here to having this meat done, I can add those in, and they will bring a lot of cohesiveness and a lot more flavor to this dish, to this meat anyway. Trying to break up some of that turkey. I mean, that's the downside, or the risk when you cook with a meat like 99% turkey. You gotta find a way to, there ain't no fat there to bring flavor, so you gotta find another way to bring in the flavor. I think with plenty of taco seasoning here, with a little bit of chili powder as well. We got onion and pepper, bell pepper, and zucchini, and now some diced green chilies. We brought a lot of flavor to the party. I'm going to hit with a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. supplement taco seasoning, and again, make sure this bad boy has plenty of flavor to it. And the beans are going to cook for quite a while longer. They've been going now for about 15 minutes, but I want them to go at least maybe 15, probably more like 20 minutes. But this meat can just sort of sit and chill out for a while before the beans are done and we assemble the casserole. Alright, so it's not quite done, but it's going to be done shortly. There's no more steps here, it's just kind of making sure this is really good and done. So I'm going to wrap it there. And when I come back next, I'll show you the assembly of the casserole into the casserole dish. All right. Okay, last part. I'm going to assemble the casserole. The beans have now cooked for on the order of 30 minutes. 30 minutes or so. So they taste pretty good. The meat's all ready to go. It tastes good. And that takes me to one point, which is I think it makes a lot of sense, or it's an important trick when you're doing a casserole like this with a bunch of layers or a bunch of parts. You really should season and taste every layer, every part independently, so you know they each taste good. Alright, so to start the installation, I'm just going to hit this pan with a little bit of olive oil, spray. As I said, I got these Protein Plus tortillas. We didn't love them as tortillas to use for tacos or whatever, but I think this is one of those recipes where you can really kind of get away with using tortillas that are worn out, or in this case a tortilla that you just weren't super fond of. As you can see here, I got a pretty good layer. I don't have every surface area covered. There's some holes here and there. I don't think that matters a whole lot. This is really the kind of recipe where we're trying to be fairly simple. I might do this, shove this one over here, and I can kind of, this one's breaking apart on me. I can do something like that, and something like that. Now I got a little better coverage, but I probably could have left it the way it was before. Alright, so now we got a layer of tortillas. We're going to make a layer of meat, and then a layer of beans, cheese and sauce, and then another, and then repeat. So super simple now. Basically I need to use about half of the meat on the first pass and half of the meat on the second pass. Now, because I never really use a recipe for this, I don't always have it quite figured out in terms of the right size casserole dish and the right amount of meat and other proportions. So I just sort of eyeball it. So I'm going to take my cast iron skillet here that has my meat in it. I'm going to just separate off about half of the meat and try to pull the rest of it out, the first half, and make a nice even layer. And it's not going to look, even though I used 2 pounds of meat and I added veggies, it's still not going to be a crazy thick layer, but by the time we get done, we'll have a pretty hearty dish here. Okay, so we're going in, making a layer. Okay, that's about half the meat. I'm just going to try to spread it out, make sure it's fairly consistent in coverage. This is not, this is not baking French pâte or something where you gotta be crazy, precise. This is really simple. Okay, so about half the meat in there. I got a nice even layer. And now I'm going to take about half the beans. I got a slotted spoon so that maybe I leave behind a little bit of the liquid, but honestly, I don't care too much. This layer is not going to look like a whole lot, but we got a little bit of beans in here. And, some more micronutrition, some more flavor. I'm not really one that buys into beans being a protein source. It's not a complete protein. It's also about as much starch as it is protein. But, I guess if you're not eating meat, you're probably not watching this, but I guess that's where you would go for protein. But otherwise, don't consider beans a protein source. I guess that's what I'd say. Alright, so I got about half the beans in there. And I got them relatively spread out. We're trying to have that setup where you take a bite of the casserole and you get a little bit of everything. So that's what's ideal. Alright, so now cheese. I'm going to cover this whole thing with cheese. And if I really wanted to make this super healthy, I could use like low-fat cheese. We've done that before, but I already used the 99% turkey, so this dish doesn't have a lot of fat in it inherently. So I'm not too worried about it. I don't know what the macros are for this dish, but it's not terrible with the 99%, even with the regular cheese. Okay, so I got a pretty good layer of cheese there. That looks tasty. Now, take my can and I'm going to open it up with a old school can opener while trying not to drop it. And if you haven't used one of these, you always got to make a hole on the other side too. So I got a little hole there for a vent, and this is the hole I'm going to pour out of. So then I'm going to just kind of pour myself some coverage of sauce. Again, this isn't precise. We're just trying to get some flavors into each bite. You can go with as much or as little sauce as you like, because even with this size can, I'm not gonna use all the sauce. A lot of times I'll take the extra sauce and have it available as a garnish, pour it over the top after the casserole comes out of the oven. All right, so I ran out of those protein tortillas, so now I'm on to regular yellow corn. Yes, I do know that the word is tortilla. I'm trying to be funny. I know, trying is the key word here. All right, well, I don't know. I don't really know what I'm doing here. All right, so I'm going to use one more tortilla. Another way to make this a little healthier would be to use fewer tortillas, obviously. Just get fewer carbs into the dish. If you're trying to balance macros, that would be something you could mess with. Not to say that low carb is inherently healthier. I didn't mean to say that. I'm just saying that if you're trying to limit your carb intake, that would be a way to do it. Okay, coming back in with another round. Almost cited some
Rage Against the Machine lyrics there. Coming back in with another round of beef. Shoot, I keep calling it beef. It's turkey. The meat and veggie mixture. So again, I had it close enough here that it looks like it's going to work out just fine. I'm going to be right at the top of the casserole dish, but 2 pounds of meat. And spread that out and go here. Like I said last time, it was really damn nice version of this. One of our most common meals around this house is we'll just throw a bunch of frozen chicken breasts in a casserole dish, in a crock pot all day, and put a bag of actually that Ortega brand. The Ortega brand taco seasoning, they have like a skillet sauce a package. It's a kind of liquid skillet sauce deal. And of the same brand, Ortega. And we'll use that. We'll just take the bag of frozen chicken breast, put it in, throw it in the crock pot. Just simply put one of those skillet sauce packets over the top of it and walk away and leave it for 13 hours or so. Probably could get away with less, but that's usually how long our days are when we're working, at least when we were working in the office, between going to work, going to the gym, etc. So that was a really common thing for us. So last time I did this recipe, I simply had a bunch of leftover chicken from that, and I must have mixed some other chicken in with it, maybe, that I had around, to get to somewhere around 2 pounds of meat, or maybe we just made extra. And then I threw it in the skillet with some onions, like I did today with this ground meat. But I took the shredded meat, threw it in with the onions, the green chilies, etc., and got it kind of crisped up, even though it was shredded meat. And that's what I used for the meat in this recipe, and that's pretty good. You could probably do like shredded beef. I've never done it with pork, I don't think, but it could definitely be done with shredded pork. Or ground pork, even. Pretty much anything you can imagine, putting in a enchilada or a taco. Alright, so that's a pretty good layer of cheese to top it off. I'm going to finish with another hit of enchilada sauce. I'm going to pour heavy here this time. There's, again, no magic here. No special sauce. And I'm going to get to the end of the can, it looks like. Okay. So now, I'm going to cover this with tin foil. I'm going to go into a preheated oven, preheated to 350. I'm going to go in there for a good long while. We'll see how long it takes today, but it's probably going to, I'll probably set it for 35 minutes and see how it looks then. And at some point we'll finish it with the tin foil off. So I'll check back in with you when we're at that stage. Okay, I cooked this thing for about 45 minutes at 375. I pulled it out of the oven here. As you can see, some of the cheese is kind of sticking to the tin foil. That's to be expected. I've just washed my hands and I'm going to try to pick some of that off of there. I'll probably grab the spatula and try to get some more. But you can see, I'm kind of looking at the side of the pan here and trying to see if I can see like liquid that looks like it's bubbling.
like it's good and hot all the way through. And I think we have that here. So I'm gonna grab the spatula and try to get some of the cheese off of here maybe. I like the cheese, I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to leave it behind in the tinfoil. Okay, so I got some of that off. What I'm going to do is I chop some of these green onions. I'm going to throw those guys on there. And then I'm going to go back into the oven again. I was 375 for about 45 minutes. I'm going to go back in at 375, and I'm just going to watch it now. I'm going to see when it looks like the cheese is nice and well done. Cheese is cheesy, just like my jokes. Alright, back in a minute. Okay, I pulled the finished product out of the oven. So it went for about, again, 45 minutes on 375 initially. And then I removed the tin foil, and it went for about another 15 minutes. The tin foil off. You see I got a nice little bit of color on there. The cheese is nice and melty. We got some color going on. Should be a nice little crust to it. You know, yeah, a little crusty. So that'll be good. Like I said, pretty solid macros on this dish, and we'll garnish. I got some cilantro and some more green onion to garnish, as well as hot sauce and salsa. Tonight I don't have it, but often we'll use sour cream as a garnish as well. You could put avocado or guacamole on this. That's great as well. Anyway, there it is. That's how you make the enchilada casserole. Hope you enjoyed it.